All right, we're going to hit chapter 20. I know it's jumping around. We won't jump around much more, but we go from 1 to 20 and then back to 2. All right, so chapter 20 is a big one, though. They put it at the end of your book because they wanted to kind of wrap everything up in a nice, neat little package. But I think really it's important to introduce it here and now, so that way we revisit it all through the year. So chapter 20 is all about sustainability, a little bit about economics, and equity. So first, let's get this party going. So first, let's define sustainability. Let's actually give it a definition. You've heard it. You're a little bit more familiar with it now that you've come up with your ecological footprint. But what is it? Well, basically, what sustainability is, it's like your budget. If you have a budget that you live within, then you are being sustainable in terms of, your own personal economics, right? And your ability to handle money. Now, sustainability on this scheme is really meaning more that we as a planet and as a society, we are only using the resources that we need for our current generation, and we're not exceeding whatever we have that's available. And therefore, that should allow future generations to have the resources that they need as well. So that's kind of the short definition and explanation of sustainability. So if you think about it in terms of, we've got society, yay people. Society always intermingles with economy. Gotta have that money. Then you also have the environment, obviously. That's where we get our resources. So sustainability is really properly finding the relationship in the balance between, well, I guess you should say amongst society, economy, and the environment. So what you're going to do here is we are going to build buildings that are sustainable and long-lasting. We're going to produce products that do not produce excess waste or pollution into the environment. We're going to be able to reuse what we can. Okay, so those are some examples of sustainability. All right, now we're going to kind of merge into economics. Seniors, get ready. You're going to hit this in eco. But everybody else, little preview. So wealth and productivity. Let's talk about what some of these terms mean. So we have GDP, which is the gross domestic product. It is so every country has a GDP, and it's basically what that country produces. It could be crops. It could be other materials, raw materials, or products that are traded, shipped, whatever. But it could also be services that are exported and traded around the world. And so basically it's kind of the monetary worth of a country. This picture here shows the GDP per capita. This is a few years ago, but it really hasn't changed that much. So as you can see here, the darker blue, those are the countries where they have the highest GDP. They produce the most, basically. And then you have the countries that are in the golden and the yellow, they produce much less. You may be surprised by some of these. You may not. It's kind of hard to tell. But if you've ever traveled abroad, you may have been able just to even witness, how this is exemplified by your travels. Okay, so now let's talk about GPI, the Genuine Progress Indicator. This basically is now taking into that human concept of kind of like greed, but it's how much are we using? How are we taking the money that we have? Are we repurposing it into the government, into education? Are we putting it back to the people? Are we investing it? Are we highly educated or not? Are we completely depleting our resources? Do we have lots of pollution? And health. So think about here in the United States, Weight-related health issues are probably one of our biggest issues. That would probably lower our GPI slightly because it doesn't make us as progressive in that regard. So here, what I'm going to do is, this is a little video, and it's going to kind of talk about the difference.
For a citizen dealing with the realities of daily life, gross domestic product can be a misleading figure. That's why the Genuine Progress Indicator was created. Both GDP and GPI use the same personal consumption data, but GPI allows for variables that apply monetary values to non-monetary aspects of the economy. For example, GPI is adjusted upward when a greater percentage of the nation's income goes to the poor, because an income increase provides a tangible benefit to the poor. GPI factors in the value of labor that goes into housework and volunteering. GPI treats money spent on durable goods, such as appliances and furniture, as a cost, and the value it provides as a benefit. Goods that perish quickly are viewed negatively, while GDP views all expenditures as positive news. GPI views infrastructure spending as a positive if it provides a long-lasting benefit. If it drains the government's coffers, it's a negative. GPI uses economic statistics and math formulas to place a value on many variables. Their value is then added or deducted from GDP. For example, the money foreigners invest in the U.S. is subtracted from what Americans invest overseas, and a 5-year rolling average determines if the U.S. is a lender or borrower. If the number indicates lender, the number is added to GDP. Since capitalist economies focus on making money, GPI has yet to become widely adopted.
All right, so quick little introduction of kind of comparison there, okay? All right, now we're going to move on again. And now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take a quick little jump from economics. And what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of focus on, excuse me, environmental worldviews. And this is how humans, as society, maybe individuals, look at how we treat the environment and our relationship with the environment. Are we stewards of the environment, per se? So the first of these is going to be the anthropocentric. And if you are anthropocentric, basically, we are top dog. Look at the picture there. We are the center of our own universe. Everything in nature is there for our needs, okay? Think of it, it's kind of like we are the sun and every other living thing are the planets that revolve around us. Then what we do is we have also the biocentric. So we are just one of the very many species that live and we share this planet with, and everything has equal value. So we have an instrumental value. The frogs in the rainforest have an intrinsic instrumental value. Everything, and we are obliged to, protect a species and, say, hey, we need to build this zoo. We need to save this species. Then we have ecocentric. Ecocentric is more along the lines that, we all have demands on nature, but everything takes on, let's see, I'm trying to think of a good way to say it here, is we can adapt nature to our own needs, and so do all other organisms, and we can have a relationship with those other organisms, but it's not going to interfere with, we're not going to interfere and encroach upon other ecosystems, okay? Everything is independent of itself. And as you can see here in this picture, the humans are no longer red, right? And we are completely in the mix, in the same size as a snail, of the whole world and its many organisms. All right, now we're going to take that and we are going to kind of quickly tag what Earth Day is. So Earth Day was originally founded on April 22nd, way back in 1970. And there's a lot of things that kind of create, it's like the background the drama behind of how Earth Day came about. There was an oil spill in Santa Barbara. Rachel Carson wrote the super famous book Silent Spring, which you will do a little bit of a study on. Not intense, but a little bit. And people really started to it lit a fuel within them. And it started to really spark this movement where people are like, hey, look, no, this is not okay. And before 1970, policy in the United States and worldwide really was, hey, we are humans, is much more anthropocentric. We have the right to say what is ours, and so be it for the animals and all the other organisms. But after 1970, and once Earth Day kind of became established and this movement kind of became, started to gain speed, then we really started to say, look, the economics of benefiting everybody and becoming more sustainable is actually better for everyone and everything that lives and shares this planet.